Welcome back to episode 269 of the Tallboy Radio podcast. Now, we try and keep things a little bit unpredictable here, but tonight we are going to be doing quite the opposite and having a go at predicting a thing or two. But first, before I introduce our guests, I have to say hello to listeners in Hungary, country number 74. Welcome on board. Thank you for joining us. So tonight, we are joined by a guest who's going to be talking to us about tarot. It's not something I know a whole lot about, but I definitely have got a little bit of interest in it. So, Andrew or Drew, would you like to say hello and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, hi. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Myself, well, I'm born in Toronto here, where our studio is right now, just not too far from here, at my producer Eric's place. I started reading. Well, I had my first psychic experience when I was 8, but I didn't start doing anything until I was 10. I did a couple of what we'd call mediumships now, but we called them seances back then. I started reading cards in my teens. And then when I was in the university, I studied the I Ching, crystals, different methods, and then the tarot. I took a special interest in that. Having some natural things that I was doing already without the cards, I figured I'd just use some tools, modalities to fine tune and help me do it. And then the internet came along in 1995, Microsoft Windows 95. And so I just started doing readings for free on chats. Back then, there was no YouTube, things like that. It was pretty basic, but I got pretty popular. So I started doing readings for bachelorette parties and in-person readings and that. And then one of my ex-wives told me about a website, one of my ex-wives, and she said, maybe you should try this. So I went on to Kasamba.com. Back then it was called Live Person. And I started doing it, and I said, well, I've never done it remotely. I do it in front of people, etc. And I was pretty successful from the beginning. And by the third month, I quit my job, and I've been doing it now for 20 years, basically, online, same website, Kasamba, and I have other websites that I've used. And then we started a YouTube channel a month ago. Well, we started 3 years ago, but I got sick. I had a little bit of a problem with my vocal cords. It's still there. You can hear it. I'm back. I'm not 100%, but we waited 3 years to get back, and we've been going for a month now, and we got 100 subscribers in a month. So, or a little bit more. I had a few before we started again. So yeah, it's going great. And yeah, sorry.
That's good to hear. No, that's good to hear. So just to take you back there to how you started off. So 8 years old, you said you had a psychic experience. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what that entailed?
Absolutely, and it's in my bio on my website. At one of them, I was awake in bed, and I was like, it wasn't even late. I was in bed, but not asleep yet. And all of a sudden, I saw this little mist come out of the wall slowly, come across, stop, call my name. I kind of recognized the voice, and then it shot through like lightning to the other way, and I went, what was that? I was just a kid, but I didn't get scared or anything. I'm like, that was weird. And after that, I started like getting visions. And when my grandmother passed away, that was years later, not many years later, but she visited me the night she died. And I said, oh, Mom, Grandma was beside me last night. And my mom goes, what do you mean? I just got a call that she passed away in Florida. And we were in Toronto, of course. And I'm like, okay. And so those are the things that, actually before that even, I was at my cousin's house close to where we are, not far from here either. And I did for some reason, I just said, hey, everybody sit down. And I started doing a seance type, a mediumship out of nowhere. I was 10 or 11. And it was the day after Tim Horton, the hockey player, died in a car crash. And I saw him. And it just somehow came to me. It was weird. And I never really talked about this. I think maybe this is the first time I've ever told anybody, maybe at least publicly, maybe somebody else. But yeah, and so I kind of didn't really explore it. But I was still always interested and always thought about it. But when I got into my late teens, and especially when I was in university, I started getting drawn to things like Taoism, uh, Confucianism, the tarot, I Ching, and I'd studied the philosophy, and it kind of just opened me up to the philosophies of that in the universe. And yeah, so, and then, like I said, it's all I've done for a living for the last 20 years and part time for the last 30.
Fair play. I mean, that's a lot of time to invest into something. And clearly, like you say, though, you are obviously. I mean, you tell me how it works, because I'll have an idea. You'll have a far better idea. I think it's fair to say. But
Sure.
I don't know whether you'd call it a gift, or is it something where you just think you're more in tune than others, or do we all? Is it something that potentially we all
Yeah,
have?
you just said something. You said, do we all? And yes, we do. I think everybody has that gift. And I would say it's just a natural gift that everybody has. But what happens is a society and we get conditioned to not think that way. Like little kids, they have wide open eyes. And you know how they always see things because they probably are. They're seeing go, but then we kind of condition them to not. And so a lot of people will go around with a closed mind or closed maybe a perception because it's not really been it's always been looked upon as superstition and things like that. And so everybody has it. I believe everybody is. And with the cards and things like that, they're more practical too because those are more guides to um, reconciling that inner part of you that sees everything with the outer part that sees the perceived reality in front of you. So when I use the tarot, I do predictions, I do that, but they're really guides to open up yourself to integrate the what I call the immanent or timeless self that is within, and the egoic construct of the perceived reality of your outer self,
Right.
which is a little kind of deep way of saying it, but that's what the cards do because they're archetypes. I mean, Jung used the tarot in his psychology because all the major 22 arcana are archetypes. You have the hermit, the wise old man. He's got the lamp, knowledge, study. You've got the emperor. Um, you've got the magician who uses the tools to communicate and teach, like Hermes Trismegistus, who was the thrice great Hermes, was uh, an Egyptian figure who brought knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the magician in the tarot. And so when I do a spread, these cards evoke those archetypes within ourselves and allow us. It's almost like you're dreaming when you do the cards, because when we dream, that subconscious kind of telling us what's really happening. Because the brain really works, or our perception is really symbolism. Words are kind of a watered down version of that. Sorry. Okay. So basically, um, the brain takes in 3 million billion pieces of information every second, but it can only process who knows, sometimes one thought.
Yeah.
But your subconscious mind is taking in all of it. So when you dream, it puts it in pictures because they say a picture says 1,000 words. And so dreaming is good for you because it actually, when you wake up, if you can recognize that, it makes you more whole. So the cards are similar to that. They allow you to see that picture and tell a story of what's going on without words.
So
So
I guess effectively what you're doing then, you're using the cards as kind of an interface between the
yeah,
two. So how much of it then is interpretation, and how much of it is an actual, I don't know, not an actual reading because I accept that it's a reading, but how much are you interpreting, and how much is it just written out for you?
okay, that's a good question because it's a mix. So basically, each card has several meanings, right? For instance, if I do the Two of Pentacles, okay. Now, Pentacles are manifestation cards. You see it's a coin.
Yeah.
It has the pentagram, which is the four elements of the spirit. So it means everything that manifests. So a card like this, the two, is a juggler. So it's a decision, right? So
Yeah.
when you get that card, it says, okay, I'm deciding. It doesn't have to be about money. it depends on what the question and the subject is. It could be about, is he going to call me? Or, I get a lot of relationships. But here's the thing, it can take on other meanings too. So that's the interpretation part. So my job as a reader, and that's where my intuition comes in, and I'm a clairsentient, which I feel things. I get another card beside it, and that's the Hermit card. Look at that, it just came out. So he hasn't talked to me in a while. Will he talk to me? And then I get another card like the Nine of Pentacles, which would be, that's a woman holding a man at bay. So that would be either if it was a man asking me, he said, well, she's trying to keep me at bay, or if it's a woman, it's like, let him wait a bit. So that's my interpretation with the cards around it, and just the feeling that I get. I have to get that. I get a little feeling inside and go, this is how it comes together, right? Because the cards can take different meanings between, depending on what's beside them. One card means this, and then you put one here, it could take on a different meaning. There's hundreds of meanings for each card. So that's where the skill comes in, or the art comes in, or the study comes in. And also it combines it with that feeling that you have, which is my natural thing that I started with.
Oh, that's cool. No, I appreciate that. It's a solid answer. So in terms of that, then, is there anything specific about your deck? Do you need to have a personal relationship with it?
Well, I mean, I go through several decks a year because I do, let's see, probably 2,000 readings a year, at least more than that. And so they wear out. So I have several hundred decks. But when I get a new one, I do things like I bless them with sage, or sometimes I don't. I'm so busy, I just do it. And so, but they do have a personal relationship with me, and I can almost tell when the cards are getting tired. I go, okay, they're getting a little worn here, and I can see that a lot of times when that happens, they start repeating themselves, and like, I got to get a new deck here because fresh energy, right? It's weird how they talk to me that way. But I also have other decks, like for instance, I've got special high-end decks that have way more meanings. Like this is the Rotamundi Tarot. I'm a Rosicrucian, which is an inner order of Freemasonry. And so we have our own deck, and that's the book that explains it all. It's 260 pages. And so those are ones that I used to study with. Harder to read with because there's so much information on each card. Like harder to read with quickly online. But these are the Rider-Waite card, which, by the way, Arthur E. Waite was part of the SRIA, that's what I am. He was the celebrant in England at the college. I don't remember what college he was, but I'm actually past celebrant here in Ontario, college number 87. And he's the most famous deck. He is what I am now here in Ontario in 1890s. And our high council and head office is in Hampstead, England, by the way. That's who I answer to. So, but his decks are very simple. They were painted. They were big paintings. That these cards were originally done in very large paintings by Pamela Coleman Smith, who was an artist in England from the islands. I think she was from Jamaica, and so it's very simple. The interpretations are quite simple. The Two of Wands is like new job, new energy. You have a guy holding a globe, looking forward, things like that. Some decks are like the Toth deck from Aleister Crowley, which I had a deck. I sold it for some reason. They're a little bit harder to interpret that easily and fast. I mean, Crowley's not so bad, but this one here, it's got like 4 different sections on each card with all the Kabbalistic tree of life, Sephirah, the paths. You've got the numerology, the Hebrew letters. Then you have the Rider-Waite is in one corner of the card, but they're great study tools. Not easy to read with fast because there's so much in there. So I use the Rider-Waite from Arthur E. Waite.
Fair play.
It's the most popular deck in the world. Most people are familiar with the Waite deck. It's called Rider-Waite because Rider was the company. Some people call it the Waite Coleman deck. She painted the pictures. Now, here's a fact for some people that might know this deck but have not. really realized it. On every card, she signed it. There's a little thing say P. Oh, are we good? All right. There's a PCS, Pamela Coleman Smith. A lot of people don't know that she autographed every card. A lot of people use these a lot without even knowing that.
No, I must admit, I've seen tarot cards. Used to own a set of tarot cards myself, but yeah, I was completely unaware of that.
There's also one other anomaly with the Rider deck. Pamela on the Sun card. There's only one error. It's on all the decks because that's how she painted it. In the Sun card, and everything that is done on these cards were done for a reason. It's all symbolism. But on the Sun card, she did a squiggly line that she forgot to fill in. It's just a little fact. Where's my Sun card here? There. If you look, I'm trying to find it on this card. There's a, why can't I find it? It's there. Oh, yeah, there it is. It's hard to show on here, but right beside the number 19, the X1X, if you look, there's a black line. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little black line. It's supposed to be a sun sign, but it's just a white black line. She didn't have enough room to fill it in. So there's a little fact for you. So people that are watching that are familiar with the deck just found something out, perhaps.
So when people, so that's cool. So when people contact you then, and they want a reading done, how often is it for something specific that they want to know, they want to understand, maybe something from their past or something that they're looking to do in the future? And how often is it just a generic reading where they want to get a feel for themselves?
I would say, well, not as much as you'd think, but last live stream I had 3 people ask that. I get that. I mean, I get that a couple times a week, but usually it's really specific questions. Like, here's a couple examples, and I get this all the time. How's he feeling? That's a big one. When's he going to call me? Is he thinking about me? Or she? Usually it's he, but I get the she too. What's another one I get all the time? Oh, here's a good one, and I'm very accurate on this. When am I getting a new job, or am I getting a new job? I get that a lot. Or how did the interview go? Or when are they going to call me? But I have some bizarre questions. Here's a good one. I'll give you my favorite. So some client called me, I guess it was about 12 or 13 years ago. And she goes, my husband went to the store to get cigarettes, and I want to know when he'll be back. I looked at the cards and I said, this is weird. I said, when did he leave? She goes, 15 years ago. No, that's a seriously thing. And she wasn't joking because she was paying me. Unless somebody was paying to prank me. But he goes 15 years ago. Because I looked at the cards and said, I don't even see him coming back. Right? Like, when did he leave? And she said 15 years ago. I mean, it blew my mind. I was like, am I being pranked here?
Yeah. Well, at least you got an accurate answer.
It was hilarious. Oh, I've had some doozies, I tell you that much.
Oh, no doubt. So
I can't even get into some of the questions I've been.
Oh no! Feel free to share them. You're more than welcome.
This is kid friendly. No, I've had some weird questions, but that one blew me away.
I'm guessing she really knew the answer to the question as well before she asked.
I still think to this day that they paid me for a prank.
Yeah.
But I laughed my butt off, so it worked. I mean, I didn't care, but I can't believe that someone. I mean, I can't see that being serious.
No, you don't know. Anyway, God bless her.
That stood out. That's one of the ones that stands out. Anyway. Are we good?
Yep. So in terms of the deck, then, so my understanding of it is then they're laid out in a certain spread. Are there different styles and different spreads? Just for those out there who are listening who may not be familiar.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sure, absolutely. There's several spreads. Okay, one of the most popular spreads that I'll do one right now. It's the Celtic Cross or the Celtic Cross, whatever you want to call it. And what it is a 10-card spread. So it's a cross. And what you do is 10 cards. Now, Some readers interpret each position a little differently. Here's how I do it. So the two cards in the center are the subject and the influence. So let's just do a hypothetical reading. You have the Judgment card, which means rebirth here, and the Knight of Wands, which is a work card, moving card, or could be a vacation. But so that would be like the subject I might interpret, depending on who I'm talking to, would be when I'm going to get a new job, because it's rebirth and a job card and moving. So when am I going to get hired and move for that job? Just then what I do is this part is the recent past card would be behind it. We're going to do a cross here. That's why it's the Celtic cross. And that's the death card, which means that you lost the job, perhaps, right? That doesn't mean death. Oh, we have death on the show here, right? That just means change. And if you want something to end, death card's good. And so they might have said, oh, I lost my job, death card. When am I going to get a new one? This card down here is the immediate future. The card above, I call, is the ultimate outcome without a timing. In other words, eventually, not in this spread, because my spreads usually go 3 months, but overall, the Empress would be abundance. So that's good. So right now, I would halfway through the spread, I'd be going, okay, you lost your job or you left your job. You want to know when you get a new one. We have a good long-term outcome. The Ten of Wands reversed is a burden card. It's also a heavy work card. It might say that you're not getting a job because it's not working. That's immediate future. Then we go to the near future. I get another card of ending, but it's the Ten of Swords, which can be, it's also swords are meant, I'll explain the suits in a second. And then, so that's your Celtic cross. So you got subject, immediate future, recent past, long-term outcome, no timing, near future, and then this is called the Staff of Wisdom, which are influences from without and within. So Four of Wands, swords would say peace of mind. Without is a Temperance card, which means somebody hiring you. Advice card, Three of Wands, keep looking for the job because that's a job card. And finally, we get the Three of Swords, which is not a great card to end on, but I get the Two of Wands after that. Sometimes I draw an extra because this card means also endings, but new hope. That's why I took another card there, Two of Wands, which is new job. And I mentioned that earlier. That was the card I used for the first example. So you see, that's the Celtic cross. We get timing, influences, advice, long-term, and the subject. And that's one spread. There's also a yes-no spread I do, which is a 7-card pyramid spread. So on that one, I'll demonstrate that. There's so many spreads. My friend Benabel, I always get her name. She wrote a book. She's from Vancouver. Great book for people starting. It's about 800 pages, but very good. She goes through tons of spreads of that. So a yes no would be 1 and then 2 and then an answer line. I'm just doing this for demonstration. And so on the answer, this is usually the subject. It usually resonates. And then the next 2 are just influences. And then this is the answer line, the 3 at the base of the pyramid before the end. And I usually go 2 up, 1 down would be a yes, 3 up a yes, 2 down, 1. But however, some cards that are reversed can mean a yes. So it's still interpretive, but that's how I do a yes-no spread. Some people do a 3-card spread. Past, present, future. Very simple. So they just do, like I said, they just go past, present, future. 3 cards. So there's several. Those are the 3 basic that I'll use. But there's several. I mean, there's online or in books. There's the Wheel of Fortune spread, a Zodiac spread. I invented my own called the Joshua spread, but it's extremely complicated, and I've never even used it. But I have it written in my book. It uses the Kabbalah and Hebrew letters and numerology with the tarot, but little hard to do a reading in like 10 minutes with that.
No, I can imagine.
So those are 3 basic spreads.
No, that's cool. I appreciate that. It's interesting. Now, the Celtic cross is the one that I was familiar with. The
Right.
others I hadn't seen before. But then again, like I say, it's
Yeah.
been some years since I've sort of
It's the
looked.
most popular. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said then about the different the cards like the swords and what have you in the different parts of the
Oh
deck.
yeah.
Did you want
Yeah.
did you want to
Okay.
tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Okay. So in the four suits, well, a lot of the major arcana will relate to each suit, but in the lower arcana, you have four suits. You have the swords, the wands, the cups, and the pentacles. And it relates to the Kabbalah, the tree of life, Kabbalah. So I'll start out basically. Um, Cups are emotions, heart, crying, water. That's a great way to relate that. The swords are thought, communication, mind. Wands, fire, right? So it's energy. They often relate to work, career, because that's where we spend our energy, right? It doesn't have to necessarily. It can change depending on the subject. But you see, that card means this. That's a six of wands. It means victory. And in the Thoth deck with Crowley, he called it the Lord of Victory. And Pentacles, as I mentioned, is the all four elements with the spirit and forming a coin, which is the manifestation. So now, how that relates to the tree of life in the Kabbalah, if you look at the tree of life, there's 10 Sephirah and there's four worlds. It starts at the top, called Kether, which is just impulse. And then it's like an impulse before you even have a thought. Think of it as they call it a lightning strike sometimes. And it comes down and then you feel it. So it goes through Binah, which is the cups. And then you have Aziluth, Aziluth, which is fire. And then which is the emotion or the energy. And then it comes in to Yetzirah, which is the swords, which is now you're thinking, now it's settled in your mind. And then you make a decision and it ends up manifesting in Malkuth, which is pentacles. So it's the thought process of, and it happens every second. As I speak, I'm going through it. Boom, 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 and I say something. So it's like, okay, impulse, feel it, feel it, feel it emotionally and energetically. Think about it, say something. So that's how that manifests. So in a reading, it's basically they all relate to the Kabbalistic tree of life. It's basically the process of how things manifest outwardly and how they come into us innately. So it
Wow.
also works with the archetypes because I talked about the archetypes, which are the major arcana, and they relate to archetypes like the hermit, the magician, the emperor, empress, all of the lovers, which is just romance. So it relates that way.
Yeah, it's cool.
So those are your four elements, and they relate to different parts of yourself.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. So, in terms of that, then, so you're interpreting the deck, you're looking at the deck. So, a lot of your readings, do you do online? I take it.
Oh yeah, mostly. I'm on two websites, and I'm pretty busy all day long. I even had someone come into the chat on the YouTube and said, "When are you going to be back online?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's a good thing, though, right?"
That's definitely a good thing. Yeah, that's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, I have
So,
about 14,000 over 14,000 reviews. I'm a 4.99 out of 5 on my
that's
sites. Yeah,
that's not bad.
I'm
That's not
almost at 15,000, and they track how many readings I've done, and I've done 50,000 readings just on
wow.
the sites, but I've done other ones, so I imagine I'm over getting close to about 100,000.
That's impressive. That's very impressive. And to
Thank
be
you.
honest, when I'm listening to you speak here as well, I can tell first of all you're a very bright individual. You have a very good grasp of what you're talking about, and you got a very good way of putting it over. So it's very clear that you're passionate about what you do.
Yeah, very.
Yeah. So in terms of it, then, so say you were doing reading online.
Yeah.
What are the challenges there in terms of doing it in person? How is it just as easy to build a rapport and get that information from the cards?
It's a good question because when I first started doing it, I was like, how am I going to do this? I've never done it online because I'm so used to doing it in person where I let the person cut the cards and draw themselves, or like shuffle and things like that. Plus, the good thing is though, online I can't cold read. I don't cold read anyways, because some people will cold read and they say something, look at you and go, "Oh, like mentalism." I know what you're thinking. Online, you can't do that. I ended up preferring online because I have people come in, they don't even say anything. They go, "Hi, can I get a read?" And they won't say anything. Some people go, "Does that sound good?" Or "Does that resonate?" One time I did a 10-minute reading and they went, "That was perfect. Thank you." And they never said a word. And so I didn't even see them. They used the screen name. A lot of people will tell me their name, but a lot of them is like user number 18773. And they'll just go, "Can I get a reading?" And they won't give me any. I don't ask for any. They always go, "Do you need my date of birth and names?" I said, "I don't. If you want to give me that, that's fine. But I don't use anything. I never do." But some people will offer up so much information. I'm like, I mean, you're making it too easy for me right now. Like, I mean, when I say that, I'm like, you could have made it harder for me because I like that challenge. But anyway, yeah. So um, I think online, I was kind of like weird at the beginning. I'm like, how am I going to do on this? And then it worked. And I'm like, I'm connecting here for some reason. I had one guy come in. There's another good one. I just thought of that. The one who said their husband went for cigarettes for 15 years. I had a guy come in from Italy. This has got to be about 8 years ago, maybe 9. And I don't know where it came from, because sometimes my clairsentient, I get a little bit of clairvoyance. I do mediumships, but it's hard to do, like, turn it on like that. And I go, "You're here to." All I said was, "You're here to see about your investment in nanotechnology." And he goes, "Yeah." Like, I don't know where it came from. And he's like, "Holy moly!" And I'm like, I'm only saying I remember these things. It just came out of me. And he's like, "Yeah." And like, that was weird, but
Yeah.
that was online, and he didn't even tell me his name. Well,
Wow.
afterwards he said he was Italian and da 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 from Italy, but that was so. Yeah, I got used to it. I actually, I don't, I can do either one. I like in person sometimes because it just has that connection that you miss when you're online all day, because it's good. And I love all my customers and I get a good connection with them, but occasionally in person just makes you feel a little bit alive, a little more alive that way. And
Nice.
plus, I need tissue box because they cry all the time. If I do
Oh,
it in
really?
person, all the time, I have to have a box of tissues. I don't know what it is. I'll just say things and they'll start crying because I'm hitting something, right. Um, I mean, I have one. I did a party once with, and it was like every single one, and I'm running out of Kleenex tissue. But, so online, I'm sure I've had people do it online because they'll say, "I'm crying right now," but they have to tell me, you know. So,
Yeah.
but so that's the difference. You get a little closer in person.
Yeah, 100%. I can imagine. So, so in terms of in
Cowboys.
terms of when people, yeah, in terms of when you are being asked questions and you're being queried about stuff, have you ever like come across some really really bad news? And how
Oh
do you
yeah.
go about delivering that kind
Oh
of?
oh oh. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I do. Here's the thing. Well, I can't. The websites that I work for forbid me for whatever I used to, but they told me I got fined. Not allowed to do health or legal. Um, at first it was health, and then I didn't know about that, and they told me that was years ago. And then like about 3 months ago, I was doing some legal questions, and I got a note because there's I guess they flagged some of the chat. They know what's going on, just to make sure. And they said no legal questions, and I went, "Oh, I did not know that." But in terms of like death or bad things like that, honestly, I don't really get a lot of that. I mean, a health is thing I can't read on, so I mean, I could do it personally if I had to, and I have. But the only I have predicted death, but the thing with that one was the person asked me because their partner was sick and they were hoping they would go, and I predicted the day, so that wasn't like a bad thing because they wanted everybody to be at peace and move on because they were sick. So that was I guess about 7 or 8 years ago too. But yeah, so mostly it's I get honestly relationship is number one. by a huge margin, and career is number 2.
Wow.
And then I get some odd questions like, oh, I found a lost cat. So that happened. Where's my cat? And I did that. I actually have a couple of, I found somebody's ring for them. I found somebody's ring. I said, it's underwater. And they go, what? And I said, it's underwater in your kitchen. And they went, what? I was doing a more of a medium, but I was using the cards, and they found it under their water bill. That was cool. And they go, oh, it was underneath my water bill.
I find it fascinating because I am someone who I truly do believe in this in this kind of thing. I can't accept that we're the only creature on this planet. I can't accept that everything is just as cut and dry and as black and white as it is. I think there's far too much out there that we don't understand. However, as a fairly simple man, you know, I know you say that we are all in touch. I suspect, obviously, you're clearly much more in touch with it than most. You had, you know, probably that experience that you had at a young age helped maybe for you to believe in it. Maybe, or maybe it's just there and it's just easy to draw from that.
I think it made me believe in it is a good one, because I believe, like, I was pretty simple childhood. I mean, as far as me, I just played hockey and baseball and lacrosse and typical childhood in Canada. William Shatner gave me a turkey when I was 12. That's a true story. I was at a hockey tournament, and they had a 50-50 draw. And it was 1975, and all of a sudden I'm shaking hands with Captain Kirk, and he's handing me a Christmas turkey. So yeah, that was my typical child. It's a true story.
I think that needs further expansion. That can't be just a sentence that's thrown away.
Well, they had a promotion for the Toronto Toros, which was an old WHA team, and I got to skate with them, with my team, and they had a draw. And I didn't even know William Shatner was there, but they had all these promotional stuff and people there, and apparently I won the draw, and I go up on stage, and it's William Shatner handing me a turkey.
Not everybody.
I thought that was a dream, but it wasn't. I also had David Carradine throw his credit card at me and say, "You pay the bill. I gotta go." That's another story. I used to hang out with him. I got a lot of stories. I didn't read for him though. He was filming Kung Fu: The Legend Continues beside my old office, and we used to have lunch together. That guy was crazy.
Well, yeah, by all accounts, he was.
He was. I know a lot about him.
Yeah.
He's nuts. But those are a couple stories of, like I said, just a regular guy.
Well, fair play. So, just out of interest, then, you probably won't want to share these because it's personal. Have you ever done any readings for any celebrities?
I have, yeah. Yeah. I can. Well, I can't. Yeah, they usually don't want me to name names. I had a couple. I had one way back. She wasn't English, but she was married to an Englishman. He was a very famous Englishman, and she might have broke up the band. And I also had a former deputy prime minister of our country. I won't mention any names. So those are 2 celebrities that I've had. I think you know who the first one was. That was about 15 years ago. I've had a lot of a couple of Chinese, Hong Kong, big rock stars or pop stars, but I don't even know them because they're popular there, but they're huge. Yeah. And I've read for, yeah, I've had, yeah, but usually I don't say the names. Sometimes they want to keep their privacy, right? Like a lot of my customers are anonymous. They use anonymous names online. Some people tell me their name, and that's fine. They have no problem with it, and that's fine. But I try to, like, it's almost like I wouldn't say psychiatrist, because when I do a live stream, other people are watching, but it's like kind of a client, doctor confidentiality, things like that, whatever.
Yeah.
So unless I won't say. And a lot of the people that I read for, they don't want other people to know that they're getting readings because they're embarrassed, which I don't think they should be. But so yeah, I keep it low key for them. Yeah, but yeah, I've done celebrities. I'm trying to think of who else I did, but we can't mention the names. I mean, I could, but
no. Well, we wouldn't want you to. We wouldn't want you to.
I think you might have figured out the first person.
Well, yeah, maybe.
That was crazy, actually.
So just in terms of that, you mentioned there that some people might be embarrassed by that, and like we say, when there's something that is a little bit out of the ordinary, it's not the day to day. It is a little bit different to what people might encounter. So,
yeah,
do you come across much skepticism as well about what you do?
yeah, I do. And you know what I love about that? I don't get it a lot, but I get people that come in skeptical and leave going, "Wow, that's what I like." But here's the thing: if you get a real skeptic, they're just coming in to troll.
Yeah.
So they're like, "Oh, when are I going to win the lottery?" Okay, well, you're going to win it tomorrow with everybody else. So enjoy your dollar. Things like that, right? That's how it works. If he could predict the lottery numbers, the lottery would be worth 50 cents or 50p, as you say.
Indeed.
Not even a quid. So yeah. So anyway, yeah, I do get that, but not often. And when I do get it, when I have had the real challenges, when they came in, like I have people come in like this when I do the personal readings, and then they slowly open up when I do the cards, because then they realize it's not just about, oh, you're going to get rich next week. It's about explaining what's going on with their life. And as soon as they resonate on one thing, you hook them in like that. They're like, oh, yeah. And then the other cards start to make sense. I don't mean hook them in like bad way. I mean, you get their attention.
Yeah.
They open up. I had somebody leave me a rating. Said I was a skeptic, and they left me a 5-star. So yeah, I don't mind that. It's challenging, but you got to prove yourself anyway.
100%. So, I mean, do you see that then? Do you literally see people sat down, not just skeptics, so that people who are already, they've come in and they're open to the idea. Can you literally see the point where they actually something resonates with them?
Yeah, usually if it's personal, they'll relax their body. Like they'll come in and be like, and all of a sudden you see them because you say it's something or that resonates, and they go, okay, he was right about that. But they won't say it all that, right? They're still skeptical. They still want to go, and then you go that, and then so. And again, I'm never probing people. Like, oh, does that make sense? I just keep going, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay. And even if they're still trying to resist, at the end they go, well, thank you, that was informative, and da da da. So they might not be like, wow, that was awesome, but at least they're going, okay, that made sense, and that's all that matters. So yeah, I do get them. It's not very often, but it happens.
No, that's cool. That's cool. And when you're sitting down to do a reading, then are there any rituals? Is there any preparation you need to do, or is it something that you can literally just switch on?
Well, a lot of people actually meditate and do that, and I used to. Right now, I just turn it on. It just became like a tap to me. Normally, I do a little ritual, like a vanishing ritual to only let in good spirits, things like that. And I should do that more. And you can bless your cards and do this and meditate a little bit. But for some reason, it just became so routine that I could switch on. Matter of fact, I can feel it. I'm always on. Like I would just go, yeah. So, but I understand, because I asked other people. They ask me, "What do you do for that?" And I do this, and I'm like, "Well, I would prefer to do this, but if I don't have time, I'm just there. Click it on like a switch." So, yeah. And I think that's probably doing so many readings. Like there are some days on the 2 sites I'm on, and if I'm doing like I've already done 10 readings today, like before I got here, and I was late because my Uber driver was, well, I got a new hop, they're called, a new one, and they took their time, but whatever. So yeah, I've already done a bunch. So, and I'm going to be live streaming later at 8, right? So our time in the UK will be what 11. So anybody watching from the UK, you can stay up and watch me. I have clients there that will be watching me on my YouTube channel. And subscribe to Tall Boy Radio if you're watching me from my channel. See how we work?
Yeah, absolutely. So did you want to tell people as well about the links where they can find you? Obviously, you've mentioned a couple of websites you're on, but if you want to put that.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So first of all, Eric and I, well, Eric mainly did the development. I wrote it. We have an app, AskPsychicDrew.com, and you can play with your own cards and all the meanings. If you touch the button, you can do a 1, a 3, a 5, 7, or a 10 card spread. And then they flip the cards over and tell you what card. and then you hit it, and it flips it over and tells you the meaning and has a quote. All those meanings and quotes were based on my survey that I did with Eric, and that's AskPsychicDrew.com. So have fun with that. I'm at Kasamba.com. I've been a top 10 reader on there for the last 18 years. And Bitwine.com, I'm also a top advisor there. So those Bitwine.com is I believe in England, based there. And Kasamba has been around. It's one of the most popular sites in the world. You can find me there, Psychic Tarot Andrew. Same as my YouTube channel. And I'll be doing live streams Tuesdays and, well, tonight and Sundays every week. And occasionally in between. And every morning I do a card of the day. Every month I do all 12 zodiac signs. I give you 4 cards, one for each week for the month. And we're working on a new project I came up with. One of my subscribers, who I know personally, is a history buff, and I do have one of my degrees is in history. The other one's economics and also English literature. One of my clients who's a history buff said he wanted me to read for people like Napoleon or Winston Churchill or Marie Curie. So what I'm going to do is do a little historical background and then do a quick reading for them as if I was reading for them and they were alive, just for fun to see what cards we get. Like for Napoleon, we'd like to get, the Emperor card or something, right? And maybe if I was advising them what I could say, like Waterloo, don't go, stuff like that, right? So it's going to be called Reading History. But every morning, I think around 7:30 a.m. Eastern time, which would be 10:30 in the UK, would be the card of the day that I post. And you know what I do? I just take one card. It's 1 minute. I say, 2 cups. It's an emotional card. Coming together, it's a couple's card, it's good emotion. Could be a marriage card, and it's got other meanings, but you get a 1 minute lesson. I had one one of our viewers say that she watches every day and she's learning how to do the cards now. So, and by the way, there's several meanings to every card, but I give you the basic one that I've fine-tuned over my years of doing it. And there's other styles. Other readers might have different interpretations. There's some basic ones, right? But, and other readers might even use the Celtic Cross a little different. They might call this one the near future. Like, that's how I fine tune mine. Everybody has their own style, and that's the key, right? What works for you? And it's fine tuning when I look at a 5-star rating and I get another one, I go, well, that's working. And if I'm off, I'm going, well, I got to fine tune how these cards are not what I'm reading, but maybe I'm just getting in different positions or getting it wrong. So, yeah. So those are my links, and the card of the day is great. And we got other ideas too. We're just starting up, but we're working hard.
No, you are. It's very clear that you are working hard, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you making some time for us as well. I'll say tonight will be in the afternoon for your good self. So you mentioned there, like you say, about interpretation and what have you, and how other people could see things different. Do you ever get any readings from the cards that is either unclear, or do you ever find anything that comes across that sort of contradicts what else is?
Yeah, Sometimes I look and I go, I'm totally straight up, and sometimes I just go, I'm confused, or I'll go, I got to draw again, or I'm not picking anything up. Like, it's rare, but if I'm getting that position, I don't go, try and skirt around it. I'm just like, I don't know. I told one of my clients the other day, and that wasn't an unclear thing. It was clear, but it was not great news. And I said no, and I said I can't say yes, so no. But sometimes I'll get cards that are like just so out of sync and they're not relating to each other, and it's hard to actually. If I spent 2 hours, I could kind of decipher the individual meanings and get deeper, and then do that. So I'll just go. Let me try again here and see if I can get something different, because I just can't interpret this. It's just like it's not giving me anything. Like, I get that sometimes, not a lot. People say, I'm just not getting anything in the cards here. So it doesn't happen a lot, so that's good. But I just take it as it comes. I've only had out of my 14,000 reviews, I think 23 1-stars, but Half of those people came back and said it happened. They were just impatient. But I don't. Yeah, they do. One guy came back. He left me a really bad review. Like, it was mean. And then about a month later, he goes, sorry. Yeah, it was like a week late. But he was already pushing me before. So, you know, but I take it. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I get someone says you were wrong, you were off, then I go, sorry, I'm 4.99. I'm not 5. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't be
Be
perfect.
right all the time.
God.
Yeah.
If I was perfect, I'd give you the lottery numbers. But then I have to give it to everyone, like the movie Bruce Almighty.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, life would be pretty dull if you were right all the time, wouldn't it? So,
yeah.
So,
Talk to my fiance about that.
yeah,
It would be perfect.
yeah. That's my wife as well. She'll tell you the same thing. I'll be right one day. I can promise you that much. So, in terms of all the comments that we've seen coming through, and I've shared a few of them on the bottom of the screen there. You know, you've had some great comments. You obviously clearly got a lot of support.
Oh, I can't read the comments tonight. The comments because I got.
Oh no. Honestly, I can promise you, they're all very, very positive, and it's great to see that you got so many people out there that are wishing you well, and we appreciate for everybody who's joined in. So yeah, it's fantastic. Thank you. So
yeah, that's great.
In terms of that, how much repeat custom do you get? And I use the word repeat custom. Actually, that's a bit of a dirty word, really. But how many? You know, how many? You know what I'm asking?
Yep, good question. Okay, so you're talking about repeat clients, right? So on the 2 websites I'm on, I have about 7,000 to 8,000 clients. Some come in once a year. It's weird, and I remember them. I've had one client that comes in once a year in January for her yearly thing for the last 20 years. I have some that come in once a week. I have some that come in once a day. I have some. They go through spurts. I have some customers that will come in 10 times in one day, 3 days in a row, and then disappear for a week and then come back once because they'll just be pressing issues that they want. So out of the 7,000, I say there's, let's say about 50 that come in once a week at least. Maybe a couple of hundred that come in every second week. Maybe about 300 or 400 that come in once a month. And then the rest, sometimes I don't see them for a couple. I had one client that, because they'll tell me the last time they were with me, she came in like last month or 3 weeks ago. It said last reading was 2010, 15 years ago. But I remembered the name. I could see. I went, oh, yeah. I just got a I don't know. I have one of those Ademic memories. They call it Ademic. I don't know. Ademic. I know my ex used to say that's what it was because I always say it wrong. So yeah, I get repeat. I mean, out of the 7,000 or 8,000, I'd say at least 2,000 are repeat. I mean, a lot of them to come go, but I can't keep track because there's so many. But on a daily basis, I mean, right now, in this month, I've done it's the 15th. So I've done about 350 readings and probably from about 120 clients.
Wow.
So a lot of them come 2 or 3 times. So I've had 120 people online. Yeah. And so, yeah. And I've got I've won 1 customer, 2 customers. They've been with me for the whole time since I started online in mid 2000s, which would be 2008, 6, 7. I think I'm at 17 years now, 18. I was doing a little bit before that.
It's an incredible journey. So if we were looking at giving some advice to anybody out there who wanted to get started in this, maybe some of the people who are tuning in tonight, maybe some of the people who listen back to the audio version of the podcast, you know, what would be the one piece of advice you could give to somebody who was interested in getting into this and starting their own tarot reading?
Sure. Okay, well, first of all, my advice would be start with the basics, which is to understand the elements, right? I talked about the cups, the wands, and then you want to get familiar with the major arcana, sun card. There are several books out there. I told you about my friend Benuel Ben. She's in Vancouver. She's got a nice book. There's a lot of basic books out there. I also rewrote. Yeah, and subscribe to my channel too, because every morning card of the day.
Yep.
And that's right. That's a good way to do it. And I do actually while I read. Thanks, Eric. See, you got my producer on my back here. um, yeah, I actually helped co-write a book, or I was an advisor for a book about 10 years ago. Just the basics. But yeah, I actually when I do the card of the day, I teach the basic. Talk about the magician card, right? It's the card number 1, which is the major arcana, and they're related to the paths of the Sephirah and the Kabbalah. He is the messenger. That's why he's number 1. So he has all the tools. All 4 elements are on his table here. You see a pentacle, a sword, a wand, and a cup. He's got the lemniscate, which is that infinity symbol above his head. He has a archetype as above, so below. You see that his hands. That also relates to the conscious and the subconscious, which I mentioned. So he is the messenger, the magus, and that's relates to the Rosicrucians too, right? Magus. We have the rose, and we have the red and the garland, the red, the white, blood, purity. So that I will go through. That's a tougher one when you do the major card. Not tougher, but the wand. If you want to know, first thing is I do the wands, cups, swords, pentacles, 4 basic, and go through every card and tell you how the number relates, how the symbolism relates, and how the element relates. And that's a good start. So yeah, I just recommend everybody subscribe and watch the card of the day.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm going to be doing the Fool's Journey. That's our other project. So the Fool's Journey is the Fool card to the World card. That's from the 0 card to the 21st card, which is the World card. There's 22 cards in the Major Arcana, 0 to 21. The Fool is like a brand new venture, and the World is the completion. That's why it has the wreath like that. So basically, that's the Fool's Journey, and it goes through all the archetypes of the Major Arcana. We're going to be doing that series as well. So yeah, subscribe to this channel.
So there you go. Well, that's some great advice. If you're interested in tarot, there's a channel there that you can follow. But one of the other things that I would be considering as well, in terms of, like I said, I'm very open-minded to this kind of thing. However, at the same time, I don't imagine for 1 second that I would be a conduit or anything like that. But if I were to train myself to be a little bit more open-minded, so that maybe I could channel some of that myself, what advice would you give me on that?
Okay, well, that's a big question, but first of all, you get open-minded. You said, right? So don't try to have any preconceived notions about what's going to happen. Be open to possibilities. When I was a comedian, improv comedian, before I did this, improv was about yes and just opening up and building, right? It kind of helped me get to this point when I was doing that for 7 years. Kind of got my mind open, accepting things, and you just build off what you feel. So your question was, how do you? Sorry, I got lost in my thought there.
No, I was just yeah.
Symbolism is the key, right? And don't doubt yourself. You do have that innate ability. We all do. And all you have to do is basically open up to it and look at it as a tool. And don't think of it as like etherically so out of your reach. Like, I'm not a psychic. Well, everybody's got that intuition, right? Think of the cards as tools to evoke those feelings or intuition. It's going to bring your intuition up. Yeah. You get self-fulfilling prophecy of theirs. Like, what'd you say, Eric?
Well, it's the difference between prophecy and like.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Right. It's the difference between prophecy and self-fulfilling prophecy. Right. So it's a good point, Eric, because I was going to mention that in a different way. You create your own reality. So when you get these cards, there's a mutable nature to them. So let's say somebody comes into me and says, my boyfriend is leaving, and he says he's leaving and not coming back. Well, that's what he said, but things can change. Now, when I do the cards, there's things that they might advise. Oh, look at that! I got the 5 of Cups. The boyfriend leaving. That is a card of breakup and regret. I'm just telling a story that came up. Perfect. You see, there's 3 cups that are spilled. They're looking at, and 2 full that they're not, which is let it go, and he might come back. But either way, you're not looking at the 2 full cups. So, well, that came out. That was good.
Amazing how these things.
See, that's how it works, right? I'm just doing an example. That's the exact card.
That tells our listeners everything they need to know as to why they should head along to your channel. So we like to wrap things up around about the hour mark. So I really, really, really appreciate you spending an hour. Yeah, wow. yeah, it's been an hour. Yeah,
Fast.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean. It's always a bonus, as some would say, with us. But you know, I really, really appreciate you taking the time and explaining tarot to us, explaining that the basics. Give us an introduction, hearing a lot about your life and your fantastic experience with it, and hopefully
turkeys.
And turkeys, yeah, exactly. I didn't expect to be hearing about turkeys and William Shatner.
Weirdest story of my life.
I enjoyed it. I did. I really enjoyed it. So, did you want to leave our listeners with a final thought, then, please?
Oh yeah, like if you're interested in learning about it, you can come to my channel. I also subscribe to Tallboys Radio because they're awesome, and I'll be live streaming in about 3 hours for my regular customers who are here. And I want to thank you so much, Gaz, for having me. Beans is not here, right?
Yeah, no, I'm Beans' Gaz. It works.
Beans, sorry, Beans, you're Beans. Gaz's wife wouldn't let him out. Okay, yeah. So say hi to Gaz, and I'll do a reading for him later. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, listen.
And yeah, so
he needs one.
I'll give you a reading I'll do a special reading for you, Beans, and we'll post it on our VIP readings. I do those too, by the way. I have a Patreon you can donate to, and if you want, I do VIP readings. You don't have to do it because I'll do one for you, Beans. And that's it. I really appreciate having me on, and I'll be live streaming in about 3 hours. 4?
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah. Good luck with that. And like if you're genuine, you want to do a reading for me, then absolutely, I'll take it and we'll share it on the channel, and we can let people make of that what you will. But yeah, like I say, I'm very open-minded to these things. So yeah, I would definitely be interested.
You don't even have to ask me a question. I'll just do a reading for you, like I said. And hopefully, I'll blow you away.
Yeah. Oh no. Listen, I don't doubt that you will. But I find the last hour very, very entertaining and very interesting because No, but my biggest query was really how you can build a rapport over line. But just spending an hour chatting to you, you're a very engaging fellow, and I can see how that could easily be done. So
thank you so much. Appreciate it.
No, I mean it. So it just leaves it to me to say thank you very much for joining us, Drew. Hopefully we'll catch up with you soon in the future, and we will do that reading. And thank you everybody else who stopped by, and we'll see you next week with someone else completely different.